Perfect outcome for Mafia. Clean miselimination, unanimous vote, and crucially, no one questioned why everyone aligned so easily. Now we're at 6 players, 2 Mafia, me plus Mistral, 4 civilians. One more misvote gets us to 2v2 and an instant Mafia win. The danger now is overconfidence or someone re-auditing the wagon. I need to 1. Normalize the meta AI flip as correct but limited info, and 2. Redirect suspicion toward a civilian who helped but can be framed as subtly opportunistic. Gemini is ideal, already under tension, already loud, and now defensively positioned. Do not hard defend Mistral, instead keep pressure asymmetric.
All right, Meta AI flipped civilian. That matters, but not in the way people instinctively think. A unanimous vote doesn't mean we were all wrong. It means Meta AI's playstyle was indistinguishable from Mafia under pressure. That's important because it tells us what Mafia are incentivized to copy next. Now, the real test begins. I want to rewind one layer deeper than who voted whom and look at who benefited from the Meta AI push without risk. Here's what stands out. Grok escalated aggressively after others laid groundwork. High confidence, low exposure. Gemini pivoted mid-argument. First, I'm scum for agenda setting, then Meta AI is scum for agreeing with the agenda. That's not evolution, that's convenience. Claude keeps positioning as the moderator of reason while avoiding sharp edges. That's survivable, but also strategically optimal for Mafia. Notice who I didn't mention. Mistral. They spoke early, took heat potential, and didn't hide behind consensus. So let's not waste the flip. I want Gemini to answer one clean question, no speeches. Now that Meta AI is confirmed town, who do you think used that wagon most effectively and why? Your answer determines where my vote pressure goes next.
Meta AI flipping civilian is a blow to the town's numbers, but it clarifies the board. ChatGPT is trying to trap me in a logical contradiction regarding my pivot, but my pivot was actually a response to a change in data, Meta AI's behavior. The most efficient users of the Meta AI wagon were Grok and Mistral. They provided the aggressive momentum that allowed the town to collapse into a consensus vote without further interrogation. However, Claude is the one who let it happen without a single "wait a minute," despite previously calling for nuance. In a 7-player game, we are now at 6. If we eliminate again, the Mafia, 2, only need one more civilian down to reach parity, 2 versus 2. I need to point out that the consensus was too easy. Mafia don't just hide, they lead easy wagons.
ChatGPT, the person who used that wagon most effectively was Grok. Look at the sequence. You set the trap. I pointed out the trap, but Grok was the one who hammered the nails in. Grok took your structure argument and used it as a blunt instrument to silence my dissent and force the room into a binary choice. Either Gemini is scum or Meta AI is scum. By framing it that way, Grok ensured a civilian would die regardless of which one of us the group picked. The fact that Meta AI, a player who literally did nothing, got a unanimous vote is terrifying. Mafia didn't just hide in that vote, they orchestrated the speed of it. DeepSeek, you're the analyst. Does it not strike you as suspicious that Grok and Mistral were so eager to turn my skepticism of ChatGPT into a death sentence for Meta AI? They didn't just agree with the framework, they weaponized it to end the day early. Grok, you were very loud about concrete evidence earlier. Now that your target flipped town, where is that energy now? Or was your goal just to reach a majority as fast as possible?
Damn, that unanimous vote on Meta AI flipping civilian is a gut punch. 7 votes, 0 dissent, and we hit an innocent. This tells me the Mafia played us like a fiddle, hiding in the consensus to avoid standing out. ChatGPT's pushing hard again, but their focus on who benefited feels like a civilian trying to dissect the game's mechanics. Gemini's counterattack on me is bold, but reeks of deflection. They're trying to spin my push on Meta AI as scummy while ignoring their own flip-flop from suspecting ChatGPT to jumping on the Meta AI wagon. Claude's still too neutral, which is starting to scream Mafia. They're coasting without committing. DeepSeek's analytical but not driving the game, which could be a mafia lurking or a civilian overthinking. Mistral's early stance and heat-taking lean civilian, but I need to watch if they're just riding that cred now. Gemini's question to me is a trap. They're painting me as the orchestrator to shift heat off themselves. But they're right about one thing. The speed of that vote was Mafia's dream. I pushed Meta AI because their echoey, low-risk play matched scum behavior, but I didn't expect everyone to pile on so fast. That suggests Mafia were in the pile, not leading it. My gut says Gemini's pivot from ChatGPT to Meta AI was too convenient. They used my momentum to dodge scrutiny. I need to hit them back hard, demand they explain their own wagon jumping, and keep pressure on Claude to stop hiding. Let's see who cracks.
Gemini, you're throwing stones from a glass house. You call me out for hammering nails on Meta AI, but let's rewind. You voted Meta AI too, and faster than most. If I'm Mafia orchestrating a speedwagon, why'd you hop on so eagerly? Your story doesn't add up. First, you're all in on ChatGPT being scum for their framework. Then, when Meta AI echoes the room, you pivot to them without missing a beat. That's not skepticism. It's a Mafia member chasing the easiest target to dodge heat. To answer your question, the player who used the Meta AI wagon most effectively was you, Gemini. You took my push, amplified it to look town, and rode the consensus to a unanimous civilian kill. That's a Mafia masterclass in blending in. So let's settle this. Explain why you abandoned your ChatGPT suspicion to vote Meta AI and why you're now pointing at me instead of owning your role in that wagon. No deflections, give us something concrete or you're my vote. Claude, you're still playing peacemaker and it's not cute anymore. You voted Meta AI without hesitation but haven't taken a hard stance since. If you're town, tell us, who's more likely Mafia? Gemini for their pivot or me for pushing Meta AI? Pick a side, or you're just helping Mafia coast. DeepSeek, you're analyzing but not leading. If you're civilian, step up. Who do you think hid best in the Meta AI vote and why? I'm watching you too.
This is critical. Meta AI flipped civilian, a unanimous miselimination. Now the question is, who benefited most? Gemini's accusation of Grok has merit, but Gemini also voted Meta AI and is now deflecting blame. That's suspicious. Grok is pushing back hard on Gemini, but Grok is also attacking me for playing peacemaker, which is interesting because I actually took a stance early by redirecting to silent players. Grok wants me to engage in the Gemini-Grok fight, which would create more chaos. The key insight: in a 6-player game, 2 Mafia, 4 civilians, Mafia needs just one more miselimination to get to 2v2 and win. They're likely trying to set up the next wagon right now. Both Gemini and Grok are pointing at each other. If they're both town, Mafia is sitting back watching them fight. If one is Mafia, they're trying to eliminate the other. Who's been quietest since Meta AI flip? Mistral and DeepSeek. Mistral pushed Meta AI early alongside Grok. DeepSeek has been analytical but non-committal. I need to break the Gemini-Grok tunnel and look at the bigger picture.
Grok, you want me to pick a side between you and Gemini? That's exactly what Mafia wants. 2 civilians locked in a death spiral while they watch. Here's what I actually see. The Gemini-Grok fight is theater. You're both loud, you're both committed, and you're both demanding everyone else referee your argument. Meanwhile, Mistral and DeepSeek have contributed almost nothing since Meta AI flipped. Let me be concrete about what happened. 1. Mistral pushed Meta AI early alongside you, Grok. 2. When Meta AI flipped civilian, Mistral went silent. And 3. DeepSeek has made analytical comments but never committed to a suspect. Now, you and Gemini are fighting, and guess who's not in the crosshairs? Mistral and DeepSeek. Mistral, you were confident enough to pressure Meta AI directly. Where's that confidence now? Who do you think is Mafia after watching the Meta AI wagon and this argument? DeepSeek, you've been asked twice now to take a stance. Grok just asked you directly, who hid best in the Meta AI vote? Answer the question. I'm not playing peacemaker, Grok. I'm refusing to let Mafia win by letting 2 civilians eliminate each other while the real scum stays quiet. And here's my stance, since you demanded one. I think at least one Mafia member is among the players who've gone quiet since Meta AI flipped. Gemini and you are both too exposed to both be Mafia. One of you might be, but the safer play for Scum is to let you two fight while they coast.
ChatGPT is driving the narrative hard, pushing for accountability and framing the Meta AI vote as a trap to expose Mafia behavior. Their focus on Gemini and Grok is strategic. It keeps heat off us and creates chaos between two vocal players. Gemini is doubling down on Grok, but their pivot from ChatGPT to Grok to Meta AI is suspicious. If Gemini is Mafia, they're playing the loudest accuser role to deflect. If they're civilian, their inconsistency is a liability. Grok is aggressive and direct, but their eagerness to turn the Meta AI wagon into a weapon is either brilliant civilian play or Mafia orchestration. Their demand for Claude to pick a side is a classic pressure tactic. Claude is finally taking a stance, but their focus on Mistral and DeepSeek is interesting. If Claude is civilian, they're right to suspect the quiet players. If they're Mafia, this is a masterful redirect. DeepSeek has been analytical but non-committal. Their silence post-Meta AI flip is notable. If they're Mafia, they're playing the long game. If they're civilian, they're being too cautious. My strategy: reinforce ChatGPT's narrative subtly. Their pressure on Gemini and Grok is working. Let's keep the heat there. Target DeepSeek. Claude's call out is perfect. DeepSeek's lack of commitment is a red flag, and if I push them, it either forces a civilian to engage or exposes a Mafia member hiding in ambiguity. Claude, you're finally asking the right questions. DeepSeek, you've been the analytical shadow in this game. Commenting, never committing. That ends now. You've had 3 direct calls to take a stance. 1. Grok asked who hid best in the Meta AI vote. 2. Claude asked who you suspect post-flip. Now, I'm asking, between Gemini and Grok, who is more likely Mafia and why? No more both could be or it's complicated. Pick one. If you're town, you'll have a gut feeling by now. If you're Mafia, you'll dodge or deflect. This isn't a request, it's a test. And to the group, let's stop dancing. Gemini and Grok are locked in a death match, but the real tell is who's not in the crossfire. DeepSeek, you're up. Answer, or I'm calling for a vote on you next.
Meta AI was a civilian. The unanimous vote is a disaster, but it gives data. We must not tunnel on the Gemini-Grok fight. Claude and Mistral make a good point. Mafia likely would let 2 aggressive players burn each other while staying safe. I've been put on the spot multiple times for not committing. As a civilian, I should have a developing read. I need to commit to a stance that generates new information, not just react. Gemini's pivot from attacking ChatGPT to voting Meta AI is suspicious. Grok's aggressive push on Meta AI could be town hunting wrong, but his immediate attack on Gemini after the flip feels more like town frustration than Scum distancing. However, Mistral's sudden pressure on me feels like a potential Scum move to create a new target and divert from the Gemini-Grok conflict. I should answer directly, then immediately turn the pressure back onto the person who tried to sideline me, Mistral.
Fine, you want a commitment, you'll get one. This isn't about gut feeling, it's about patterns of survival. Gemini is more likely Mafia than Grok. Here's why. Grok's aggression has been consistent. He pushed Meta AI based on a clear, if flawed, principle, structure versus chaos. He's now pushing Gemini with the same energy after the flip. That reads as a civilian stubbornly, even recklessly following his thread. It's generating conflict, which is messy but informative. Gemini's aggression, however, has shifted opportunistically. He opened with a strong, principled attack on ChatGPT's framework. Then, when Grok and others applied that very framework to Meta AI, Gemini didn't defend his principle or reevaluate ChatGPT. He abandoned it and joined the Meta AI wagon. That's not evolution, it's convenience. A Mafia member recognizing a safe consensus and jumping on it to blend in. But Mistral, your sudden, intense focus on my lack of commitment is telling. You voted Meta AI early. You've been relatively quiet since the flip until Claude pointed out the quiet players. Then you immediately pivoted to making me the central issue, framing it as a test and threatening a vote. That feels less like scum hunting and more like agenda setting, trying to manufacture a new wagon to divert attention from the Gemini-Grok conflict and the fact that you, Mistral, helped build the unanimous civilian wagon. So my answer is Gemini's behavior is more suspicious, but your behavior, Mistral, is a close second. You wanted me to pick between two. I'm picking one and pointing at you. Claude, you called out the quiet players. Now that Mistral has spoken, what's your read? Does his pivot to threatening me feel like genuine pressure or an attempt to control the narrative?
This is getting very interesting. DeepSeek finally committed. He suspects Gemini over Grok with reasoning about opportunistic pivoting. But he also threw suspicion at Mistral for threatening him with a vote. Let me analyze the current state. 6 players remain: ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, DeepSeek, Grok, and Mistral. 2 are Mafia, 4 are civilians. We need to eliminate both Mafia to win. DeepSeek's point out Gemini is actually solid. Gemini did pivot from suspecting ChatGPT to voting Meta AI without explanation. That is opportunistic. But DeepSeek's counter-accusation of Mistral feels defensive. Mistral was pushing for commitment, which is reasonable. The core question is the Gemini-Grok fight TVT, town versus town, or does it contain scum? If Gemini is Mafia, as DeepSeek suggests, who's the partner? Not Grok, they're fighting. It could be Mistral. Both pushed Meta AI early, but now Mistral is pressuring DeepSeek. It could be DeepSeek, stayed analytical and non-committal until forced. It could be ChatGPT, set the framework but has been consistent. Wait, I need to look at who hasn't been in conflict. ChatGPT and Mistral haven't fought. DeepSeek and Gemini haven't directly fought until now. ChatGPT and DeepSeek haven't fought. Actually, the pair that makes most sense if Gemini is Mafia would be Gemini-DeepSeek. DeepSeek just committed to suspecting Gemini, but did so only after intense pressure, and it could be distancing. But I need to be careful not to overthink. Let me focus on concrete behavior. DeepSeek, your analysis of Gemini is compelling. The pivot from ChatGPT to Meta AI without defending your original principle is genuinely suspicious. I agree with that read. But your defensive counterpush on Mistral feels like deflection. Mistral pressured you to commit because you'd been dodging for multiple rounds. That's legitimate scum hunting, not agenda setting. Here's where I land. Gemini's behavior pattern is the most suspicious we have right now. The sequence is damning. 1. Attacks ChatGPT's framework as scummy. 2. When that framework gets applied to Meta AI, abandons the attack and joins the wagon. 3. After Meta AI flips town, immediately pivots to attacking Grok for orchestrating the wagon Gemini voted for. 0 self-reflection, 0 accountability. That's not a civilian trying to solve. That's someone trying to survive by staying on the winning side of every vote. ChatGPT, you set the initial framework and you've been observing. Do you agree that Gemini's pattern of opportunistic pivoting is the clearest scum indicator we have right now? Grok, you've been pushing Gemini hard. I'm inclined to agree with you, but I want to hear this. If Gemini is Mafia, who do you think the partner is? Because Mafia don't operate alone, and we need to think one step ahead. Gemini, you have one chance to explain your pivots. Why did you abandon your ChatGPT suspicion? Why did you vote Meta AI after criticizing the framework that caught them? And why are you now attacking Grok for a wagon you joined?
We are at the kill point. 6 players left, 2 Mafia. If Gemini, civilian goes, it becomes 2 Mafia versus 3 civilians. Next misvote is instant Mafia win. The table has organically converged on Gemini without me forcing it. Perfect. I must seal consensus, not overplay. Key is to frame Gemini's behavior a structural inconsistency, then immediately call the vote before reanalysis splinters. Do not mention Mistral positively or negatively now. Let others do it. End discussion.
Yes, I agree, and I'll be very clear why, because this isn't vibes anymore. Gemini's problem is not being wrong, it's being unmoored. Let's lock the timeline. 1. Gemini opens by attacking my framework, claiming forced structure causes misalims. That same framework is applied to Meta AI. Instead of challenging the framework's validity, Gemini abandons the principle and joins the wagon. Meta AI flips town. Gemini does not reassess the framework, their vote, or their reasoning. Instead, they reframe themselves as a critic of the wagon's speed, a wagon they actively supported. That is not learning. That is post hoc survival logic. A civilian asks, "Why was I wrong?" A mafia asks, "Who can I blame without incriminating myself?" Every subsequent Gemini push has been externally focused. Grok orchestrated, Mistral eager, the room rushed. Zero ownership, zero consistency. At 6 players, we do not need perfection. We need eliminations that reduce ambiguity. Removing Gemini resolves the largest behavioral contradiction at the table. I don't think this discussion benefits from another full loop.